question concerning the Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world. Can Muslims visit it, for tourism purposes? Are we allowed to go and visit it? Spend money? Right? No. No. If you are in the region, you are traveling through, it's there, okay, you see it, you saw it, no problem. But to go and spend money, airplane tickets, everything, to fly there just so you can see the Taj Mahal, no. This is not allowed in Islam. This is wasting our money. Tabligh. And Allah said about those who waste their money, إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Those who are wasteful with their money are the brethren of the devils. وَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانُ كَانَ لِرَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. And Satan was a disbeliever in his Lord. So we don't hold any respect to the Taj Mahal. It is nothing to be proud of because it is an open violation of Islam. It is an open violation of the commands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who forbade us from building structures over graves. It is a grave. It is a mausoleum. Same thing in Karachi, to go to the mausoleum of Qaid-e-Azam. It's a big thing, looks like a spaceship, People go there, it's a tourist spot. People go and see it. Go to Egypt, go to the pyramids. All of this is forbidden. Because these places are places which are cursed by Allah. They're cursed by Allah. So, as a Muslim, we use that money well. We don't want to have to tell Allah when He asks us, how did you spend your money? I spent it going on tourism to see the Taj Mahal. That is not something we will want to say on the Day of Judgment.
Just regarding non-medical, if the woman is elderly, like say for 80 years, and the person is very young, sometimes culturally they hug or shake hands with the woman. Is this permissible?
In the case of women who have reached an elderly age, where the rules are relaxed in terms of how much covering they have to make. Because the purpose of the covering of the hijab of the woman is to protect her from sexual advances of men. That is the fundamental purpose. To protect her, for her protection. لِيُعْرَفْنَا وَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ, so that they would be known and they wouldn't be harmed. So when a woman reaches that age where there is no attraction anymore, she's so elderly, then Islam relaxes. Okay, she doesn't need to wear, the abaya all the time, whatever. She can just cover herself. She should still cover her body. Doesn't mean now she can walk around in a bikini. Say, well, she's old now, it doesn't matter. No. It doesn't mean she can expose her outer. Her outer is still her outer. But it just doesn't have to be covered the way that a young woman or a middle-aged woman who will still be attractive to people would have to cover. That's it. It doesn't mean now that we are excused to go, because we say she's old now, you can go kiss her and hug her and all these other things. This is the area, this is not the relaxation that was spoken of in the Quran. Right? It was spoken of in terms of her dress. Not now, she's, you can now shake hands with her. No. This is not what was included.
replace them, would be better than that. So is it just a warning to Muslims, or is it a possibility that Allah is trying to? We don't know. So what is the understanding you get from this?
Okay, the verses or statements of the Prophet ﷺ speak about Allah replacing us with those who would worship Him as He deserves to be worshipped, following the Messenger as He deserves to be followed. Whether such verses or statements of the Prophet ﷺ were meant only as a warning, or would it actually take place? Well, it has taken place. It has taken place. You know that others have come. The Mongols who came from China and overtook the centers of Islam. They converted to Islam, next generation, and they now took over and they became the leaders of the Muslim societies. And it has happened, you know, time and time again, that others have risen up. Others who weren't Muslims before, they came when Muslims were going down, etc., and brought Islam back to the forefront. So this is a reality. It's not just a concept, you know, as warning, but a reality that we have lived in the history. In Muslim history, we have seen case and case of it. You know, like the fall of the Abbasids, of the Umayyads, for example, in the east, and then the rise in Spain, becoming now head leaders in civilization, learning, knowledge, etc. The rise after the fall. We see it happening time and time again. No, I have one question. We have to go on, brother.
Now youth is been carried away by the word jihad and all, which is going in Iraq and all. They say there's a Khalifa down there. So people just get through of it. So what do you say about that?
Okay, brother's question concerning the ISIS Khilafah, where it is claimed that jihad is now underway and there's a Khalifa to whom we should give bay'ah and join, give allegiance to him and join their forces in the struggle. What is the position, or what position should we hold with regards to this? Well, we have to recognize that this is not the way that the Khalifa of Muslims is formed. It's not each and every little group which gathers together and they decide to declare their leader to be Khalifa, and now everybody should go and make bay'ah to him. This is not how the Khilafah comes. This is nonsense. And if we accept that, then it's chaos. Because there's one group after another can rise here, they're all making the same claim. That is confusion. This is not how. It's not to say that there may not be struggles, etc. At the end, when struggles are complete and new leadership arises, then the Ummah gives bay'ah to the new leader. It is not that he declares his Khalifa and now he pushes and forces everybody else to make bay'ah to him. That's his route. No, that's not the way. So what happens with that approach, that way, is that it is the gang mentality. When you have gangs, in all the big cities you have gangs of youth, criminals, etc. And the gangs fight against the other gangs. One gang wants to be the main gang. Right? They're all going after the same thing. But that tougher gang, they'll beat up the other gangs, destroy their leadership and absorb them into their gang. This is what we're seeing. Though the struggle is supposed to be against the Assad regime, we find that the ISIS group are killing Nusra and the other groups, killing their leaders, killing their members, declaring those who do not make bay'ah to them disbelievers. This is takfir. This is the way of the Khawarij, the early generation who broke off from mainstream Islam and slaughtered and massacred Muslims. They're engaged in that. So ISIS is not representative of the Islamic Khilafah. They may claim it to themselves, but in fact, they're not. And that's why we have seen from them actions which go against the teaching of Islam, and we will see many more in the name of Islam. So I would not advise anyone to go running there, giving bay'ah to Baghdadi and joining that struggle with them. I would not advise it. Let me take a question from the women's side, please. Crying or coming to tears often happens to me. Is this okay to cry during prayers? It is good to cry during prayers. These are among the signs of faith. It is a blessing from Allah to cry during prayers and outside of prayers, when making dua. Because as the Prophet ﷺ said, the eye that has tears for the sake of Allah will not be touched by the hellfire. That's a great blessing. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us all to cry for the sake of Allah. Now the question from the sisters, I want to ask that I live with my brother-in-law in a flat in Kuwait. We live jointly because of some rental issues. It's all over the Gulf. It's very hard for me to maintain parda all the time. Please help me to what extent I have to do parda. You have to do it to the extent that Islam requires. You have to be in full hijab in front of your brother-in-law. In that respect, he is no different from a man on the street. In that respect. It's not to say you cannot communicate with him, you cannot speak with him, you can speak with him, with the needs that are required, etc. You cannot have a relationship of friendship. This is your brother's brother. But it is friendship in the sense that it's based on your brother, your husband's brother. So it's based on your husband, this is your husband's brother. This is where the friendship comes from. It's not a friendship that now you develop, which become really close, and you can talk with each other, you're very comfortable, and you end up alone, and then zina. Because the Prophet ﷺ said about the brother-in-law, Al-Hamul Maut. The brother-in-law is death. The brother-in-law is death. Because we tend to treat the brother-in-law as like the brother. This is what you'll hear people saying, people who live in these kind of circles. It's my brother, it's just like my brother. But he's not. He's not. He's a man, you're a woman, and how many cases do we have of adultery taking place in these circumstances? This living together in this way is un-Islamic. If your life has come to this, it is better to go back home. Go look elsewhere where you can live honorably and not be forced to compromise your Islam. Is it permissible for ladies to earn? And if she wants to turn, help. I'm not really sure. The ladies can do something. That's why I can't figure out this word. And help in the path, this path of Allah, path of deed. I can't really make it out. Anyway, one of my best friends passed away being a disbeliever. Although she did have doubts about her own religion. Being her friend, how can I pray for her to Allah? You can't. It's not allowed for you to pray to Allah for her. If she has died, apparently to you as a disbeliever, that's it. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was not allowed to pray for his own mother, for his own father, because they died disbelievers. So, we have to accept this. And we don't know ultimately how Allah will judge them. Because though they may appear to have died in a state of disbelief, Allah, knowing how accessible Islam was to them, may bring them back at the day of resurrection, along with those people who never heard the message of Islam, who are given a test on that day, the day of resurrection. And on the basis of that test, they will then go on to paradise or to hell. So we don't know. We may hope, may have that hope in our heart that they be among them. But to pray for them, to ask Allah to forgive them, etc., this is not permissible.
You said something about Ummah. I just want to know that, what do you think that, does the Ummah exist today? Because you have these Ummahs.
Okay. Does the Ummah exist today? Yes, it does. We are the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whether we are deviated, misguided, not practicing, all these other things, we're still the Ummah. In the Ummah, there is good, and in the Ummah, there is evil. There is the Ummah who have still to be called to Islam, and there is aspects of the Ummah who are already practicing and who are on the path to paradise. Because the Prophet ﷺ had said, كُلُّ أُمَّتِي يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةِ. All of my ummah will enter paradise, except for those who refuse. When he was asked, who will refuse, O Messenger of Allah, he said, those who obey me will enter paradise, and those who disobey me have refused. So he included those who disobey him as part of the Ummah. So the Ummah includes the whole generation. In the back in brown shirt, stand up. Yeah. I don't guess. Go ahead. Let me just mention, and every one of you doesn't have to say Assalamu alaikum when you get up to class, right? Why I'm saying that? It seems like a nice thing, but in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba just got up and asked. We don't have any record of them. This one gets Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum upon the podium. You all replied, Wa alaikum salam. Done. Carry on.
How we as Muslim Ummah today and in the future can protect our brothers and sisters in Palestine and Gaza from the massacres and the atrocities of Israel and...
Okay. How can we as the Muslim Ummah protect or help the rest of the Ummah that is suffering in different parts of the world, whether Gaza, whether it's Burma, Ethiopia, wherever. Muslims are suffering. There are Muslims suffering in different parts of the Ummah. How can we, as an Ummah, help them or protect them? Realities is that we will not be able to help them until we help ourselves. Until we are able to do what we are supposed to do, we will not be able to help them. Allah says, in tansurullah yansurkum. How do we help Allah? We help the religion of Allah by living it. We support that religion of Islam by living it. When we live Islam, then Allah's help will come. When we change our condition, in Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah doesn't change the condition of people until they change themselves. So this is what is on us. Of course, on a limited scale, we can send food packages, clothing packages. You know, there are tragedies and calamities. We try to help on a limited scale. But as an ummah, how do we help the other parts of the ummah as we should? When the Prophet ﷺ had said the ummah is like one body. If any part of it becomes hurt, sick, harm, the rest of the body is feverish, spends the night feverish, worrying about that part. How do we do that? How do we apply that feverishness and correct it? How? 1.7 billion Muslims cannot deal with Israel. How? As they say, if we gather together and just spat at them, our spit would wash them into the Mediterranean.
It's not working.
How? How can we not do? Because we don't know our deen. We don't know our deen. And because we are ignorant of our deen, Allah has put over us rulers from among us, ignorant like us, without the consciousness of the deen and its responsibility. So,
can you replace the
unless those rulers are able to come together, bring the ummah back together, get rid of all the different flags and the national anthems and just come back to Islam, one Islam, then we will not be able to deal with the simplest of problems. We have the means, economic, numbers, military, we have it. It's there. It may not be as powerful as the others, but the first generation fought the most powerful nations around them. Persia, Rome, these are the guys who are like America and Russia and all that. They have all the weapons. Muslims have weapons. But they were primitive in relationship to what these people had. But because of the knowledge of the deen, acceptance of that deen and living that deen, with their little, they were able to achieve what history had never seen before and has never seen after. Yeah.
When in Islam, when the destiny is already written of each and every individual, then what is the reason of Allah's testing on persons?
Brother's question, since it's already written, what is going to happen to each and every one of us? Will we be in paradise or will we be in hell? What is the point in us living this life of test? Question. What is written is that we live the life of test and went to hell or went to paradise. That's what's written. Now, since Allah already knows the end result, He could have created us and put a bunch of us in paradise, the people who were created for paradise, and put a bunch of us in hell, the people who were created for hell. Though, as I said before, we're all created for paradise. Now, those people who are put in paradise, you are created and we are put in paradise. Do you have any problems with that? Are you going to ask Allah, why am I in paradise? No, you will just be happy. You will just enjoy. There will be no questions needed or anything. That's it. But now those who are put in hell, you think they would just say, my tough luck? They would say, Allah, why? Why? Why you made us and put us in hell? And Allah will tell us, you would have done this and you would have done that and you would have done the other. No. If I knew there was a hell, I would never do those things. I know there's a heaven and hell. No, I'll be good. I will only do the right thing. We would argue, we would never accept that we belong there. So Allah, in His ultimate justice, He has allowed us to live out our lives so nobody will question Him when they're being led off to hell. Why? When you read in the Quran, when Allah talks about that day, those people who are being led off to hell, nobody is saying, why, O Allah? Why me? They're all saying, give us another chance. Give us another chance. Nobody questions why they're being led off to hell. They know that they chose hell. So Allah, in His mercy and His justice, allows us to live out this life so we know wherever we end, it is where we deserve to be. We have chosen that. And those of us that end up in paradise, what does that tell us? It tells us, when we look back at our life, that we had Allah only judged us according to right and wrong, we would not have made it. But because He multiplied our good deeds, one good deed is worth 10 times its value. Fasting in Ramadan purifies us of sin. So many righteous deeds multiplying, purifying. Because of the grace of Allah, we have gone to paradise. So we will only be happy in that. So this is the realization. Everybody, nobody has the ultimate justice. Allah is just. Okay? No. I'll just give one question, otherwise if you go into a long discussion, I know, related to what other people have their own question. I'm not coming back to this side. I'm going across, okay? So you don't know about the put your hand up. If we go across, then we'll come back again. When I'm going to reach the end, question, we'll come back again, okay? So just keep your hand down, don't get sore. Okay?
Regarding happiness also, it is in reality that especially to those new Muslims, when they go back to the place where they were born, they are exposed again to their relatives, and they will be invited to gatherings, and all the harams again are there. What can you advise to them so that they can still strengthen their iman?
Okay, for people who accept Islam here and then go back home to their families that are still non-Muslims, and they are invited to the various celebrations and parties and the different things which involve so many haram things. If they go to all of these things, they just go back and engage in all of this, eventually it will eat up their faith. They will compromise more and more until after some time you'll find them back drinking alcohol, doing all the things they were doing before. That's reality. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us, choose your friends well. Your friends. Because a person will be on the religion of his friends. You will be raised on the day of judgment with your friends. So it is important that when we go back, we try to find fellow Muslims and be going to their gatherings, etc., and make that our regular contact. Very important. It may mean moving away from your family. You want to give them dawah, but if you don't have the courage and the strength to be able to stand in their midst and say no. You know, you're just going along with them, you don't want to hurt their feelings and so on, so. But if you're far away, you've chosen another part to live in, it's easier for you to be amongst Muslims and not to be amongst them in those gatherings. But it doesn't mean you don't go to see them. You go to see them outside of those occasions. And you invite them to your home. You invite them to the community to meet other believers, give them the dawah. So you have to work with some form of a strategic plan to ensure that you are not swallowed by that society and its culture and its practices when you go back. So, and it's a big struggle. That's why a number of people go back and they end up apostating. You work for a company whose finance is mostly from interest. You need to leave that company. You need to leave that company. If the company has an element of finance through interest, you can still work with them, and the percentage that they get of their profits from interest, you can remove it from your salary. You don't keep it. Say 10% of their profit of the company comes from interest. What you do is from your salary, 10% is taken off, you don't take it, you know, and that is given away in a particular fashion to, you can't keep it yourself, right? You just get rid of it. Because once the majority of the money is from interest, are you ready to take the majority of your salary and throw it? No. That's why I said you better find another company.
Regarding Muslim scientists in the previous eras, like one Muslim scientist, he hold a view of a geocentric model of the solar system, other of an heliocentric. There were such instances, but they never felt like it is not going against the Quran. Both, this view is different, this view is different. They never felt that anything is going against Quran. But nowadays, how much do you find that Quran and science should be related? Because nowadays there are many people, because of science and reading of the Quran, normal translation.
Okay, I understand. Okay, the question concerning science and the Quran. In the past, Muslim scholars who were scientists interpreted the world based on the accumulated knowledge, the acquired knowledge they had, and tried to see it within the scope of Scripture. Sometimes they were right, and sometimes they were wrong. Today, there is a move to focus on dawah through science. And this approach has its dangers, because science is something which is changing. It's based on our knowledge, which is changing continually. What they said yesterday is no longer today. So if we now base our dawah based on the Quran agreeing with what they said today, then what are we going to say tomorrow? Of course, we will find something else in the Quran which agrees with it. Then they'll say, look at you. You know, you've got like a story for everything. So when it's wrong, you find something else to cover. Here, you're always slipping and sliding. No. This is not the nature of our dawah. Our dawah is not a scientific dawah. As they say, the Quran is not a book of science, but a book of signs. The signs of Allah. There are elements which may be mentioned which correlate with what we know of science, but we don't make that the pillar of our dawah, the foundation of our dawah. That's a very dangerous path to take. Is politics permissible in Islam? How do you define politics? Tell me. No, I'm asking you, how do we define politics? No, don't use Islam. Say, how do you define the term politics?
How it helps in
Huh?
Politics is man-made rules that we follow.
Okay, somebody has their phone, whatever, you can go into dictionary and find the word politics. Okay, somebody dig it up. Let's have a look at what the word is. Just for clarity. Huh? Governance. You're going to define politics as governance. If you define politics as governance, is there governance in Islam? Of course. So it means politics is in Islam. See, if it, only two more questions left. If we define, that's why I said, well, how do you define politics? Because for you, you may have politics in your mind meaning something, somebody else has another meaning, so on and so. So it's better to look at what is the official definition of politics. If it is, as was said, governance, then yes, it is there in Islam. But if politics means what we call politricks, then no, we don't have it in Islam. Where you deceive people in order to gain positions of authority, rule, and control. No. Deception is forbidden in Islam. Okay, let me take a few questions from the sisters. Education of a girl in Islam. If she wants to complete her education or graduation before marriage, is there an issue? There's no problem. Do we recommend it? No. If time for marriage comes, then she should marry. Prophet said, young women, men, marry. Marry early. That is better. But if she decides to, or the family, with her agreement, very important. If the daughter says, I want to get married, they say, no, you're too young. That's wrong. That is wrong. If your daughter says, I want to get married, then get her married. If your son says, I want to get married, then get him married. He's telling you something. He's telling you something. When you tell him, no, you're still too young, blah, 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 then the next year he's involved in zina, they have children out of wedlock, and you say, oh, how did you do this? Why? He told you. She told you. I want to get married. Get them married. Should women change their surnames after marriage? No. Advice for to teenagers regarding video games and PlayStations. Take them away from them. Should dua and sujood be in Arabic? Not necessarily. Can nail polish be applied during the menstruation period? Yes. Okay, is it permissible for ladies to earn? It means to work and earn money. And if she wants to earn and help in the path of the deen, supporting the dawah or whatever, can she do so? Yes. Question concerning the position of the mother when the Prophet ﷺ stressed that she is most deserving of our companionship and help, support, love, etc. Where does she fit in relative to the husband for a woman? You know, does the mother take precedence over her husband? Or does the husband take precedence over the mother? Those who think that the husband takes precedence over the mother, put your hand up. You're right. Husband takes precedence over the mother. Because the comparison that the Prophet ﷺ was making was between the mother and the father. Not in terms of anybody. So, responsibility to the husband and obedience to the husband, that is once she gets married, she's now under her husband. He is the authority over her. So she owes allegiance, obedience, etc. to her husband more so than to her mother. If her mother wants her to do something and the husband wants her to do something else, she follows the husband. This is the bottom line. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, question concerning thanking people, which the Prophet ﷺ said, if you don't thank people, you don't thank Allah. You know, gratitude is shown through gratitude to people, through whom Allah has brought you the good. But, as our brother was saying, sometimes when you are very thankful to people, it may set them off. They may start to feel proud or whatever. So where do we draw the line? Well, the Prophet said, you don't praise people, or your thanks turns into praise. Your thanks now turns into praise. He said, don't praise people to their faces. You're breaking their backs. You know? Thanking, you can never thank enough. People have done things for you, saying thanks to them, being thankful. There's no danger in that. It's when the thanks is transformed into praise. That's where the danger lies. So there you have to control it and make sure it doesn't end up harming that individual and yourself.
The question is reciting Quran and then making the intention that the ajr of this, may Allah give the ajr of this to the deceased person. Is it an innovation?
The question of reading the Quran and then asking that the reward of reading the Quran be given to the dead. Is this an innovation? Yes. It was not done by the Prophet ﷺ, nor by his companions. Though he did permit us doing some acts of worship and asking that the reward go to the dead, to the deceased. Do you your parents. You can do Hajj for them. You can do Umrah for them. You can fast for them. They missed out in fasting. Certain things like this. You can give charity for them. These are things which have been mentioned. So what we do is we have to stay and stop where the Prophet ﷺ stopped. His sunnah is what he did do and what he didn't do. See, sometimes our thing is we think of his sunnah as just being what he did. But his sunnah is also what he didn't do. Because otherwise, where do you stop? Can you make salah for the day? They didn't used to pray 5 times a day. So can you not add an extra prayer along with all your prayers and say, oh, God, you can do it? Most people say, no, they can't. Why not? Why? If you want to do it with the Quran, what's the difference between you doing it with the Quran, which the Prophet ﷺ did, and you doing it with Salah? So how do you draw the line? You draw the line where the Prophet ﷺ drew the line. What he said you could do, you do. What he didn't say, leave. They call it Sunnah Fi'liya or Sunnah Tarkiya. Okay, that was the last question. Subhanakallah wa hamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.